So we'll open the public hearing for Occupancy Provisions LLC, doing this as the alternative as adult marijuana store. They're up for license renewal. Any public comment? Anybody? Chief?
It was all good.
This is a renewal, right?
Yes.
We were able to, this is the one, Kathleen, am I not mistaken, that we did receive it kind of on the late side, but we were able to, the chairman was actually the one that pushed to get it on here for you guys, so it might be worth a thank you to him.
They've been closed for the past week, waiting for your license rate.
No issues, I'll make a motion to accept.
Oh, they did me.
What?
We're in the public.
Yeah, we're in the public hearing.
Oh, excuse me.
No other comment from we'll close the public hearing. We'll open up the Selectmen's meeting. We'll start by I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
any adjustments, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Alrighty. With 3-1, review approve Occupancy Provisions license. Take motion.
Make a motion to accept.
A second. Motion to accept is seconded by Ernie. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Vote. 3-0. All right, we'll start, might as well start with 3-2, the recreation department rates.
So the rec director came in tonight, she would like to address the board, bring back to the board the summer rec rates. A couple of factors that she's gonna discuss, one being the fact that she's received more sponsorships than she expected. And then on the other side of it, received significantly less enrollment than she expected. So with that, I kick it over to her, and in your package, you have a copy of her proposed rate changes. Go ahead, Kayla.
All right. So since we set the new rates, we've gotten a lot of feedback, not great feedback. And it has certainly reflected in our registration. So usually at this time, we have between 40 and 50 kids signed up, and we currently have 9. We've been seeing other camps that are putting out their rates, and we are far beyond it. And so I'd like to propose that we lower our rates so that, one, we can run our summer camp and actually have it. In the last 2 weeks, Cindy and I have received $10,000 in sponsors from several businesses. So I just feel like as far as non-residents, they're at $250 a week. It's just not realistic for a lot of these families, especially if they have 2 kids. And then for residents, we did bump it down a little bit. Instead of doubling it, we would like to request it be $135 a week instead of the $150. And non-residents would be at the $175.
So looking at her rates based on what we're projecting for payroll and supplies and reducing the cost of trips to help offset, and then the sponsorships being taken into place, with those rate changes with our estimate on how many students we're gonna have, we're looking at clearing about $2,000 from the math that we did. So the board's asked if you would consider reducing the rates to hopefully get more enrollment.
I'm okay with it. My biggest thing is that it was sold to us last year, right? Or it was new to me, just understanding that it was a program that a town would put some money in for a year or 2 or whatever, right? So as long as it doesn't cost us any money, I'm okay with, if you get more sponsorships than what you anticipated and we can lower the rates, as long as it don't cost us money as a town, I'm all for it.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Motion and seconded to go with the record, new rates. All in favor? Oh.
Thank you.
The right page. There it is. All right, budget.
All right, so you want me just to kick off on that?
Absolutely.
All right. All right, so tonight on the budget, before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping things. So, since you received your books, if you got your book today, it's an updated one, these things will be in there. But Floyd, you'll need this as well. So a couple of things that noticed is that in going through this, the holiday pay, I explained that in the overview, was added to the regular payroll. Oversight was on that that additional holiday pay was not included in the calculation for retirement. So recalculated that and added that in, so now the retirement amounts are correct, which was a little bit of an increase of a couple of $1,000s on each budget in order to make that correct. The other item that found when working with the budget committee on Tuesday night, I went and double checked, and that's in regards to the animal control officer in the police department. That stipend was under regular wages last year. I wanted to move it out of regular wages and into part-time because it is a stipend position. And through that transition, it did not get stated within the part-time reserve line. It has now been corrected and is in there, and that's a $4,000 stipend for the year. So I have the updates for you on that, so that we'll have all those and we're all on the same page. Beth, did you have those? We can hand them out, or who needs? You guys have them. Everybody has them here. Or? Yeah, I got them. Thank you. And also, as we get going on the police side of things, the budget committee also had asked for a couple of different scenarios on the number of officers. So I have those for you tonight. Might as well, I work them out. Might as well share them across the board. So with that being said, we'll start with the police department. If the police chief wants to come up, that'd be great, please. All right, so I'll start at the top like I usually do. And so with the police department, the salary line is $848,257. That is an $85,000 increase over last year. A couple things to note about that are that we are not concluded with union negotiations, as the board knows. I had to put some sort of a placeholder in there. I used the same 3% COLA and merit raise that we're using for non-union employees to at least get us in the right direction. That also is a reduction of the number of officers. Right now we have 2 open positions, and I removed those positions from the budget in order to reflect this number. The police chief and I are not adversarial on this. We're both just of different opinions. I'm trying to reduce the budget. I see open positions and feel like that's a place that we can save without having to affect anybody's job. He, of course, would like to have those positions, or at least one of them, back. So I'm hoping the board will give him an opportunity before we're done to talk about that. Then moving along, overtime is $46,956. That is a slight reduction from last year, but that is also based on the number of hours that we feel we're going to use. If wages go up significantly, then we would also need to revisit the overtime line. The reserve part-time line, again, based on what we're seeing that we've been using, that's it's $24,100. That includes the animal control officer now as well. Social Security, $56,997. Medicare, $13,330. PFMLA, $45,97. Health insurance, $130,701. Retirement, 109,789. Workers' compensation is 35,397. Then we go down to telephone, that is 5,743. It's a slight increase from last year. Office supplies, this line, we did combine a few lines just to kind of clean the budgets up a little bit. As I mentioned, when we passed out the books, we tried to standardize each of the budgets. So office supplies is where you're gonna now find his DARE supplies and his law books and so forth, because those are in a separate line for minimal cost. So $7,500. Postage remains the same at $400. Equipment supply has been increased to $12,000. That's a $1,500 increase. One of the reasons for that is in talking to some of the individual board members, it was felt that it made more sense for the ballistic vest to live as it's a yearly purchase, to live in the operating budget rather than the capital budget. So that $1,500 was moved into the equipment supply line. Clothing, $9,500. That's an increase of $1,000. Simply put, it's costing a little bit more to equip the officers, their uniforms and such. The K9, that's a new line for $3,000. That's everything from the dog food, vet care, other gear that you would need. Gasoline, $18,960. That is a decrease. It's based on our estimated gallons and the bid pricing that we received. As a reminder, our gas price is 25 cents over rack. That was the bid that we awarded. So we're making our estimate on where we think we're gonna be, barring unforeseen circumstances, I suppose. Software, $88.57. That is a slight increase from last year. That includes their WatchGuard file storage and their Spillman and so forth. Grievances and attorney fees, $1,000. We are in the midst of a labor contract, so I would like to leave that. The equipment rental is $984, and that is the lease amount for the photocopier fax machine that we have. Professional services, $58.56, and that is that's their IT and their radars and all of those things. Insurance, $18,618, and as a reminder, the insurance line, that was under the municipal tab, which is like its own separate budget. We split that up amongst all the departments, so each department has its own liability insurance line. I think it better reflects the actual cost of the departments. Dues, $850. A little bit of about $100 more than last year. Training and conferences, $7,500, same as it was the year before. Equipment maintenance, $2,000. Vehicle maintenance, $12,000. Most of our vehicles are fairly new. We look at the average of what we were spending on the majority of these vehicles, and that's where we came with this. ACO supplies, we left at $1,000. And then shelter fees, again, shelter fees are one of the things that was under the municipal tab, but whereas it's an animal control function which is supervised by the police chief, we put the shelter fees into the police department's budget as well. So that brings us to a total proposed police budget of $1,393,224. So did you have questions or thoughts?
Sure. I guess I could figure it. I didn't know, off the top of the head, what we added in from the other, what would normally last year been in different spreadsheets. Do you have a number what that totaled up to?
It's like the, you're talking about like the animal control
Yeah.
piece and then the insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did backfill it so that it shows what it cost the previous years, but I can tell you, so it'd be 73 plus the 18, so it'd be about, what, 27,000 in the end, roughly.
Thank you.
Public school math.
Round up.
Do you guys care to hear the chief's explanation on his thoughts of the staffing? Or?
Yeah.
Can
I know there's not a lot of people in the public, but anybody that might be watching, if you can explain how we got to potential $85,000 increase, but lost 2 positions.
Sure. Yeah, so the reason that we're in that place is that it's a year ago, we entered into union negotiations, and settled on a union contract. When I say we, I mean the town, we were attempting to be more competitive, actually at least equal to or in the same vicinity as the pay of other local law enforcement, so we retained staff that did require a significant increase in law enforcement pay. And one of the ways that we were able to get that agreement finished was we agreed to a 1-year term. So now, fast forward a year later, and we're back at the negotiating table, negotiating another 3-year contract. And the union is, of course, as you would expect any employee to, they're asking for further increases. And so that's the negotiation that's going on right now. But based on the original increases, that's where the salary line comes from. The original increases plus the 3% merit, like I said, is a placeholder. Is that about what you're looking for? You wanna discuss those positions?
So, obviously, as department head, you don't wanna lose anybody when you're trying to gain and keep up with town growth. But shortly after we lost our SRO, we had learned of a grant out there for that. So we applied for it, received the grant. It's a 3-year grant, but it only covers half of each year. So I entered into discussions with SAD 17, and originally they thought, well, we really wanna have the SRO in Oxford because it covers 3 schools. And we do other programs within the school. So they thought that they might be able to make that happen and cover the other half, but the grant didn't. About 3 weeks ago, I got a call from SAD 17 and said that wasn't gonna be possible. So, reading the writing on the wall with the other position that we just didn't fill, it's more imperative to me at this point, and I don't want to downplay the SRO because I feel very strongly about an SRO teaching there for 13 years and being within the school and knowing how that association works and the safety plans and all the different classes that we help them with there. But to me, beneficial for the town would be to keep at least the patrolman position so that person can help with the investigations that we're hurting on badly right now. And maybe I can try to incorporate that person into maybe being in the school still so many hours a week or what we can try to do. But it would be detrimental to lose both of those positions. We're hurting right now from being 2 guys down. We're backed up on cases. The captain and I have so many different responsibilities that neither one of us can keep a light of day really. And we have some pretty high profile cases that we're working right now that take days and days of investigation. And other agencies have to be involved to help us with that. So I hate to say, give up my SRO, I don't want to, but again, the other position is the most valuable to me at this point right now, if I have to lose one.
Questions from the board?
On your sergeants, do we really need 2 sergeants?
Well, when we did that, the structure was to have one for each rotation so that they can monitor the other officer on that rotation. I had 2 guys out. So that's how that was structured. It helps for sure.
Do we need it now?
My answer is going to be yes, because of the way that it's set up in the structure of supervising the other officer that they have for that rotation that they work, and also the other responsibilities that I try to put off onto them to help the captain and I.
What actually does the sergeant do?
Reports initially get passed into the sergeants to make sure that all the elements are met and everything. Once they get done with it, they give those reports to me. I go through them and make sure that all the grammar, everything is correct in there. And then I push that to the captain and he does NIVERS, which is how we report everything to the FBI for all of our numbers. And then it's given to the administrative assistant who loads it on the sheriff file for the district attorney's office. And then one of our sergeants is a firearms instructor, so he helps with some of the training aspect of that. And they're both field training officers, so they have those responsibilities too.
Any other questions?
So if we was to add those two, Adam,
Yep,
if you added the two more to that, it would increase the budget by how much?
so if you wanted to add both of those officers, now keep in mind, I'm making an assumption that they're gonna be like middle of the pay scale.
We don't really know what the base margin would be though.
Right, correct, I'm making assumptions here.
Okay,
We're looking at $1,649,800, so $1,650,000 rounding up, so. Those two officers cost about $250,000. No, I'm not taking into account with the grant on that, which is about, Elizabeth, do you remember we looked it up, 31 a year? 41.
41 a year, 30 to payroll and, or 31 to payroll and the rest for offset benefits.
But the thing to keep in mind about the grant is the SRO grant, it is very specific. It has to be the SRO, we can't 50-50 it, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong, Chief.
I did call the grant people and ask them if there's a way out that I can manipulate that position to help, and they said absolutely no, I had to be a full-time SRO. The only other thing I'd have to say about the other position is the town awarded us that other position last year.
Right. Right, and I agree with you, except we're way out of budget, right? We went way out of budget for the negotiations, so to compensate for that, I mean, I think the problem we're running into, that the board's running into is the money's not there. So now we're at budget season and we have to either put the money in because the town did vote for that, or we bring it to the town and let them vote again. Because it was such a significant increase. I don't think anybody on the board takes it lightly to say that, we want to cut police officers, is that's not, a knee-jerk reaction like, well, out of bitterness or anything like that. It just comes down to, balancing the
Oh,
budget.
100%, and
That's,
like I said in the other meeting, hey, I'm a taxpayer too.
Yeah.
I understand that
Yeah.
fully. And that's why I was saying I had to concede one, unfortunately, would be the SRO position, because the other one is so badly needed.
So numbers wise, and again, so everybody's clear, if we had filled those positions after the contract increase, the 1-year contract, we would have gone over budget probably $200,000.
Yeah.
If not more.
for this past year,
This
The year we're in
on
right
year we're in right now.
That's why those two positions weren't filled, because the raises that were granted in union negotiations, you have those percentages or amounts or, and this is current contract, not the contract we're talking about now. We can't talk about the contract we're doing now.
It's basically for a 1-year contract.
The contract that's in place today, that 1-year contract, it
So
was
yeah,
substantial.
it was, yeah, so for step 5, which is about the middle of the pay scale, in the previous contract to the current contract that we're in right now, that patrol officer got a 23.5% increase. If you look at, is that what you're looking for, right? Yeah. If you're looking at the sergeant's position, that was a 30% increase.
And when those positions go up, obviously you have to pay your captain and your chief more. They're all probably worth every penny, but that just adds more increases to the budget. You can't pay a sergeant more than you pay your police chief. It's not right. It's never right, so. It's a lot of money, and decisions have to be made, and the taxpayers will have to make them again in June.
And when you do the price comparison, because I called Ollie today just to see what their budget is going to be, that's 1.4 right now, with what they're paying. You have to be competitive, and don't get me wrong, I understand about cost, I get that. We also have to keep up with town growth, and like I said in the other meeting, I'm kind of glad the town hasn't exploded with growth all at once, because there's no way the emergency service is going to keep up with it. There is no way. So the way that we're going right now, we've been lucky.
And where's the strain, where do you see the most strain? Is it in investigation? Is it,
Right now, yeah, we're really hurting there right now.
who heads up, who does most of your investigation? Where's that, how's that?
The captain's taking the brunt of that on his shoulders.
Chief, with the SRO, what happens with him outside of school season during the summertime?
I utilize him on the road
Okay.
to help with investigations, fill shifts, vacancies, things like that.
Anybody else?
No, I mean, I'll back up what Phil said. It's obviously, I wish I could sit here and say, I want you to have 4 more patrolmen, right? Or whatever it is you need. I do, honestly. I'm just, the rates are just, they blow me away. I understand we're gonna be competitive and I think that's a struggle. It's just, like you said, I wish we'd give you 4, right? 4 more. I'm kind of torn with the cost of everything, and we don't want to jeopardize safety. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, but it puts us in a tough position too, and
Safety and morale is another thing too, it's not just the pay, it's not that.
Sure.
It's the cases that we send out that don't get prosecuted for whatever reason it may be, so it's a battle right now, just trying to keep up everybody's morale, trying to keep up with the caseloads, really.
I would say, just as a comment on that the cases that aren't getting prosecuted aren't due to a fault of your staff.
No.
Yeah, that's.
No, because I communicate with the district attorney's office every week about cases and things. And their caseload, you gotta remember, it's for the whole county. So, things happen there, but of course then we have to deal with our victims who are upset about it afterwards.
At the end of the day, it kind of all boils down, right? There's just a price tag on everything.
On everything.
And I hate to make it that black and white, and that's what it is, we talk fire budget, we talk anything, we're talking response time or response time for a police officer. And I got a call where a police officer didn't respond, talked it out over the phone because they didn't necessarily have the time to be there. So I'm getting some of those phone calls, and the explanation simply is a price for everything, and we have to decide as a board, what does the town want to pay for, and how, what is their level of expectation, what do they want, what do they want for service? And,
Exactly, I agree.
It may come in June that, they're willing to give up some of that, service, and they're willing to give up some of that response time or whatever it may be, to keep the tax burden down.
Or the other way.
Yeah, or the other way, right? It could be, this town is notorious for, public safety and building codes, so.
They always have been.
Yeah, yep.
Agreed.
Would you like me to review the police capital real quick, or?
Sure.
All right, so the capital, you guys, folks remember so this capital plan is a little bit different than in years past. This has a focus for saving for the future, so that we're not having to potentially borrow money all the time in the future. One of those areas though, because of the reduction in staff that I'm proposing that we remove one of the vehicle purchase for this year, which was slated to be about $70,000. I still am, however, recommending that we set aside $25,000 to go towards future capital purchases and future vehicle purchases for the police department. So this year would be $25,000, and as you see, it increases every year as we go in order to make those future vehicle purchases. I do think if we end up adding, if the board ultimately decides that we want to put forward an additional position from what I'm proposing, we need to revisit this vehicle, or at the very least, we need to maybe we skip a year, but it needs to stay in the rotation moving forward so that there's enough vehicles in a spare and so forth. So. Does that make sense?
It does, we can F this, if 2 positions aren't added, or no positions are added, we don't need a new vehicle this year.
Right.
if one position is added, do we need a new vehicle this year?
You have a thought on
It would be nice, but we can get by the year.
Two
I
positions.
can make that work.
2 positions are added, do you need a vehicle this year?
And can we just talk a little bit about this, not borrowing and saving?
Sure.
At some point, there's a savings to this, right? Because we're not gonna be paying interest on borrowing, so where do we see that in the schedule?
So I think if you look at the cover sheet, which is the one for capital, the cover sheet, if you look down underneath of where it says the totals for each year, I included a ribbon down there that includes how much the town debt service is each year. So you can kind of see where the savings, if you will, for capital is going, starts to step up, but the town's debt service starts to go down. So I think where you're gonna find and you're gonna feel that biggest impact is about 5 years out, and that's when the road bond ends. And when the road bond ends, I am proposing that we significantly step up our savings, because that road bond payment is about $600,000. So when that goes away, I'm proposing that we start putting $500,000 towards roads. And then instead of us paying interest on a loan, we're gaining interest on that $500,000. So does that answer your question?
Yep.
I think you could, this, I don't wanna say this is aggressive, I just, I heard the feedback that I was getting, I feel like it's responsible to go this direction. I do think that we need to consider how we ease into it though, of course.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So just remember, as we're saving, it's going into the bank account and we're earning interest as well on those savings. So every time we're putting into reserves, so we're getting interest on that money we're putting away.
We started that with the last 2 police cruisers we bought. Actually, you only had a bid for one, and it came in at a very good price, and we authorized to get 2. Paid for them outright, didn't get a loan. And we probably would have done that with both our pumper potentially and ambulance. Well, we wouldn't have had to replace the ambulance, but the ambulance accident set us back because insurance paid half of what it cost to buy a new one. So we had to do something with that too. I think we're on the right track. We just need to keep it up.
I think we're on the right track with the cruisers too. I mean, if you keep it on, yes, I can make do for a year. But I mean, one of our charges right now has got 71,000 miles on it. Obviously, they're not easy miles, but for a cruiser, it's not horrible right now. That's why I'm saying that worse. I could go a year. But we'd have to keep purchasing from there if we want to keep a decent cars, which keeps the maintenance down on them.
So that's what I've got for the PD stuff is both capital
And just to think of it real quick, what's the combined total for the capital improvement with the PD and the operating budget? What's the combined total?
So we're just asking for 25, so you can do math. All right, so the PD budget and the capital is $1,418,224. And that's what the $25,000 ask.
This is the 20, yeah.
So and then if we just play the scenario of hiring both positions, right, and a new vehicle, now we're pushing 1.7.
Stand by, I will. So if we purchase another vehicle, the chief and I have projected about 70, would you agree with that, chief? So if we stuck both of those positions back, yeah, 1,719,813, and that's allowing $70,000 per vehicle.
Yeah, no.
What was that number for?
That's it. You put forward
2 people in the.
funding the 2 positions back in
Which was 250, correct?
and the vehicle.
Around it, yep.
But it's actually a hair less, right? Because one of those positions would be the SRO with the grant.
With the green.
So it would be 41, 42 less than that, but roughly 1.7.
Yes.
That's fully funded with the vehicle, everything.
But remember that SRO, if we use the grant money, is an SRO.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. And that grant's for what, 3 years?
3 years.
Yeah,
We only
it says
understand.
half.
That's right.
It says it
It
pays,
ain't working.
so it says it pays half, which is 41,000, but that's not half, that's actually a
Right.
third.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just looking at kind of top level, if it was fully funded.
Yeah.
That's all. I can't support 1.7, but.
And we're still in negotiations that could
Correct.
push it potentially.
Correct.
Well, it's not gonna push it higher if negotiations goes beyond town meeting and amount is set, the amount is set. Then we get into potentially the town says go ahead and add 2 people, but that budget's not high enough because the negotiations came out too high and we're back in the same mode we were last year.
Which we were trying to
We're gonna be
avoid.
careful to avoid that, but
Right, and this year, while we was short those 2 officers, I myself came out and I worked as many shifts as I could find a loophole within that contract for me to do, just to try to save some money. So I'm very conscious of that.
You're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
so we can either make a motion to put forth the number tonight, or we can wait on the police budget and see if negotiations move along at all.
But realistically, that ain't gonna sell before town meeting.
Well, it needs to settle along before.
Well, I mean, it's not definitely gonna sell before this budget session's over.
Not like,
Would you say, Ray?
I would probably not.
I'd agree with that, probably not.
I mean,
so we all have the packets, whether it's add 1, add 2, or don't add any.
are you looking to vote, are we gonna
What's the
vote on it? We haven't voted on it
Unless we
tonight?
need further discussion and we need more time on this budget, and this is the big chunk of the budget. Especially if it adds 2 officers back in it, this is, right, this would be the largest department budget.
Yeah, as proposed, yes. Yeah, the next one is fire rescue.
So I guess we're either ready to make a motion in a second and vote, or we need more time to think about this and further discuss it.
I would have a real hard time, the people that have called me complaining about their taxes from last year, I'd have a hard job explaining where 1.7 is going this year. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion.
I'd like to see more time, personally.
Moving on.
So table the police department budget then? The budget committee has asked the police chief to return the last budget meeting of March. Why don't we plan on having him return in a couple of weeks for the last budget meeting that we're doing? We'll just plan on that, and if we're not settled, we're not settled. If we are, great. Does that sound like a plan? Does that work for you?
Thank you, Chief.
All right, I believe recreation is next. Will I join you? All right. So for recreation. All right, start us off. So recreation, we have the regular salary line, 70,117. Part-time, 20,800. And just as I said with the police chief, Kayla has requested that the part-time line actually be moved up to a full-time employee. Again, it's not a personal thing. I think our part-time employee does a wonderful job, but based on our, financial situation and attempting to save money, I don't know that I, as the manager, feel like this is the year to move forward with a full-time position. However, I want to let Kayla have an opportunity to express her thoughts on that, to the board. Again, that's not an adversarial conversation, that's just two different opinions on our end. And then Social Security, 5637, Medicare, 1318, paid family medical leave, 455, health insurance, 30,938, retirement, 6294, workers' comp, 3442, electricity, 60, this is for the rec center, 6456, heating oil, 5303, and that is based on our projected gallons and the price for the K1 down there. Telephone, 636, internet, 1560, water, 415, office supplies, 2,500. So the $500 decrease, but then you see that $500 return in equipment supplies, which is the next one for $1,500. Software, $482. That's for email and Microsoft Office and so forth. Professional services, IT, $675 a year. Property and casualty, that's that one from the municipal tab coming over here, $3,635. Equipment rental, that's the Rico, the photocopier printer machine. She didn't have that line before. She's been using just like a Walmart level printer down there, which is a really significant, expensive thing to run with the ink cartridges. So we looked, and it's more cost effective to actually have a more professional grade photocopier down there that can do color and stuff. She does a lot of her own pamphlets and so forth. Mowing, so $17,600. This is for the ball fields. Now, just as a caveat for the mowing, the bids are out right now for mowing both the town property cemeteries as well as the ball fields and rec facilities. As a placeholder, I have put in 2 workers for 16 hours for 25 weeks at $22 an hour is $17,600. So we'll see if the bids come in better than that or not, but that's the one thing that's pending here. Training and conferences, $1,252. Building and grounds, $10,000. That is increased from last year. The reason for the $2,500 increase is we're running into just maintenance issues with the older building, with the heating system and flooring and so forth, the bathrooms. We go over to Pismo Beach Complex. The electricity there is $2,052. Water, $164. Building and grounds for Pismo, $13,500. That includes your repairs and maintenance to the facilities, including the playgrounds, the boat launch, swim ropes, so forth, and painting the lines on the fields. Moving over to Potter, electricity, $600, because we now have that bathroom that'll be ready to go this year. And then also there's power at the garage again. And then building and grounds for Bottle Field is $5,000 even. That is a slight increase, but that's just some of the repairs and the grub control for the fields. So that gives us a total recreation budget of $213,171. Did you want to have Kayla talk about the part-time position?
Sure.
Alright, so this year we've had Cindy part-time, which has been, a huge help. If you follow recreation, you can see that we have increased across the board between activities, rentals, fundraising has been a big one. Cindy's really been the driving force behind that, which in return has brought in thousands of dollars for recreation. one thing that I like to point out is our budget doesn't support our youth sports, it doesn't support activities, events, that's all money that we're bringing in, whether it's through sponsors or just different events that we're doing. Cindy's really been huge in that. And the burnout is real with one person, so just even having her part-time has been huge. We've already had to shuffle some stuff around just to make sure we have her for the next few months. With baseball and softball coming up, that's a pretty demanding time of the year in itself, and then right into summer rec. So I really do think it would be a huge, huge help to rec. We are growing tremendously in recreation. We're having to cap our events because we have so many people showing up. Many weeks, Cindy's not even accounting for the amount of hours that she's actually working, and I'm having to kick her out of the rec center and telling her not to work. So I worry about her burnout. I know what my burnout was like. So I feel like this is really, really important for recreation.
Questions from board? I need to see more numbers on the revenues. I know you guys are doing a great job on fundraising, but we don't see all that. You give us something at the last meeting, and I think that would help potentially in deciding whether we invest more tax dollars if you can show we're doing this much more, we're bringing in this much of the money to help do that. But the more you can show that, the more you can show not just this board, but the taxpayers themselves, I think they're willing to step up. That's my opinion.
Do you think that that would answer some of, just what the balances are
That's
currently?
what the balance is within each department is what I have.
Yeah, I mean, like, what we have right now is, because, like, for instance, with the activity line, you know, money is coming in and then it's being expensed to buy things to do the activities. So, I mean, we could tell you what the balance of those are broken down, which I think I might have given to you.
I think you did at one of our meetings,
Recently.
some of the breakdowns.
She is doing a good job with fundraising and so forth.
And I don't expect you to be an accountant, you're already busy. Both of you are already busy with 60 hours a week between the two of you. Just, everybody knows you're busy, and everybody knows you're doing programs and things that are just adding to things for people to do in Oxford. The Christmas tree event, you raised a lot of money there, and we contributed to that, and we brought in a lot of money, and it's great. To show that, and we're gonna get to some of that when we get to the capital stuff, that some of that money you've raised is gonna go there to pay for stuff, so we're not going to the taxpayer for it. Having your part-timer go from part-time to full-time is a big ask, I think, this year. Can you increase the hours? Maybe. Can you increase her hours by doing some of that, using some of that fundraising money? The more she can work, the more she can fundraise. That kind of thing. That's where I'm looking.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm sure you're well aware of it. Recreation becomes kind of a want and not a need, right? Like when we're sitting here talking about budgets, and cutting 2 police officers or adding, fire rescue or whatever it be, it's just, it sucks, right? But it becomes a situation which, I've been talking to several of you that you guys are doing a great job, and it's not, just like I said to Ricky, it's not something that, this is the worst part of this job, right? Like, I wish I had done more research before I, decided to run for a selectman, because nobody wants to sit here and say, no, I'm sorry, but we can't bring you on full time. It's not something that we take lightly, but it's also something that we have to consider, right? And we have to consider, to me, unfortunately, just a big math equation. and will all the numbers fit in what we're trying to do here? And, we've talked about it, at length, and it's not, I feel like sometimes when you say no, and it's about the money, it reflects, it can affect morale, like Ricky was saying, and we don't want it to do that. And it's unfortunate that that's just the human nature of us, right? Is when we hear no, we're like, that sucks, they don't appreciate me. And I wanna make sure that you both know that, it's not that we don't appreciate it, it's really a tough job here too, it's just trying to balance all this. So, and I agree, I think I can say we're all working really hard, we've had some, meetings beyond meetings to sit down and try and find areas where we can trim a little here, and literally, like, we've gone to the point where we're like trying to trim $300, right? Like, and you're like, in this budget, what's $300? Which, 300 here, 300 there, and we're working really hard at it as a board, but there's just, at some point, there's gonna be, the math isn't gonna work out, in my opinion. Now, again, we go to town meeting, it may be a whole different thing. I believe that we had a pretty big change in the board structure with a couple of guys who are a little bit more on the side of not spending and cutting back, because that's what the general consensus of the town is. So I say this because I mean it. I had a blast at the Cornwall tournament. You guys did a great job with the Festival of Trees. The feedback we're getting is good. So it's not a no because you're not doing a good job. It's just a no because I don't think we can afford it. I don't think we have the money to put forth to bring you on full time. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that, and it doesn't make me happy to say that. And I know the rest of the board feel the same way. Nobody wants to say no to that. We don't want you to burn out. We don't.
Anything else from the board?
Can we talk about capital?
Sure.
Moving over to the capital request for recreation. Sorry, just give me a second, there we go. So, kind of touching off of where we were just talking about with the fundraising. So this year, we were gonna be looking for a scoreboard, a field power, snack shack, kitchen hood, and potentially upgrading the dugouts. But given some of the fundraising that's been done by Kayla and her staff over there, we feel pretty comfortable saying that those items can be paid for from that rec account. So in fact, she's getting quotes that I've asked her to get quotes for these things so that we'll be able to bring those quotes to you, and because it's over $3,000, I have to bring multiple quotes to you guys so you can tell me whether or not we can move forward with those. So we'll be bringing those to you shortly. However, with that being said, I still am putting forward that we request at town meeting $30,000 for future rec purchases, and you can see some of those outlined in future years, such as fencing for the ice rink, redoing the floor at the rec center, lights for the Pismo softball field, the playground upgrades. A couple of these things have estimate written in there because we're still working on getting some of these prices. But with all that being said, as Kayla's department continues to fundraise, if we're able to knock some of these things out, I think that this capital is going to be one of those, every year they're all gonna need to be reevaluated. This one will have to be evaluated based on what we've got for those revenues coming in. So the capital request is $30,000, but also kudos for being able to do those other purchases through the card fund.
You don't have to get this tonight, but if you could give us a total on what was going to be in here, what is not in here for now because of the fundraising and the money that they have.
Yep, I mean, that's $22,000, those four things I listed.
Good chunk of change. Questions?
Kayla, if we increase the hours, obviously not to a full-time position, but let's just increase it to 30 hours a week. Does that allow her to do additional fundraising, do you think there's more that that they could tap into, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've set a goal for ourselves right now that every month, if not every other month, we're gonna have a fundraiser. Cause there's a lot that needs to be done, and I know not a lot of people have done recreation, but there's a lot that goes into these events. So even sometimes the two of us trying to tackle it, like, we could use a few more people. Unfortunately, volunteers just they don't really exist anymore. I'll take anything I can get for her. She's well worth it for sure. I'll be honest, the town and all of Oxford Hills has been very, very generous. I don't know anyone that can get sponsors like Cindy. I thought I was good, but she puts me to shame. So she knows what she's doing.
You have budgeted as her part-time hourly rate, $20 an hour.
Yep.
So an additional 10 hours a week would be $10,000 a year, roughly.
10,400.
I could support that sooner than I could support a full-time position. And then if we need to make that $10,000 up, we reduce that 50 in the capital to 40. Unless somebody wants to go even further than that.
I think the capital was,
Was it 30?
yes, it'd be
Yeah, 20.
30, so there you go, yes, yeah.
I could go along with that.
Please.
I make a motion that we increase the part-time recreation assistant to 30 hours, or an increase of 10 for.
I second it. Oh,
Discussion, it's kind
Yeah,
So
that's why I was
motion
waiting,
second.
sorry, discussion begun. In that motion, are you reducing the reserve by 10 grand?
We'll have to do a motion on the capital separately, because it's a separate actual
Okay.
portion.
That's our 10.
I'm assuming there's gonna be a motion to decrease that. All right, as soon as we vote on this one.
I don't know how you guys work your schedule down there, but would it make sense to go to 32? Would it be 4 8-hour days, or do you do 10-hour days, or how's that?
It really depends on what we have planned. You know, the next 4 weekends, we have events every weekend. And then we have multiple events during the week. So it really depends on what's going on. Some days they tell her not to come in at all.
Yeah, she pushes me out of the office.
Doesn't mean she stops working, but it's really not a set amount each day.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? So. We want to vote, do I have a motion on the entire rec budget? Before we do the capital.
I'll make a motion to approve the rec budget with the amendment we just made.
So that would be plus 1040.
2023, 571. If your computer catches up.
Well, had a little formatting issue there. Probably operator error. All right, that would be 223,571.
Do I have a second?
23357.
223,571.
I'll second. We're still laughing.
yeah, the motion.
Scott made the motion, I seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the difference is here.
Discussion. All those in favor? Vote. Capital.
Make a motion, we reduce 30,000 down to 20,000.
I second it.
Motion and a second, discussion. All those in favor?
Hang on, the motion to reduce it down to 20,000.
Yes.
I like to see us reduce it a little bit more. Can we take it down to 15?
Do you want to amend the motion that's in place?
Yes. Because if we don't, we're gonna vote on it, right?
So we'll have a motion to amend to 15.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of amending the motion to 15,000? It's a vote. The motion is now 15,000. All those in favor of 15,000, count. It's a vote.
Okay, so 15,000.
That concludes rec and rec capital.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Okay, so I believe that brings us to Public Works. So Jim has promised to be on his best behavior tonight.
Always.
All right, so I'll start at the top. So Public Works is also unionized. Their raises this year are dictated by their union contract. And you'll notice that it goes, for salary line is $347,868. That's, some of that is a little bit different in the sense that we had some turnover in staff and so forth this year, so that, it's not a consistent, just flat raise across the board. All right, so yeah, 347,868. Overtime, we're calculating at 37,629. That is, excuse me, that is based on what we're estimating for hours of overtime and the overtime rate, so forth. So it's a little bit down from last year. Part-time, this also speaks to the mowing contract that's due on the 18th. I did the same thing that I did with the rec department, and that is budgeting for 2 workers for 24 hours a week, 25 weeks of the year, $22 an hour, and that brings us to the 26,400. So we'll see how those bids come in. On-call, $5,000. On-call is for during the winter time when he needs extra drivers, plow drivers and so forth. Have a good night, guys. Social Security, $25,848. Medicare, $6,045. PFMLA, $2,084. Health insurance, $112,042. Retirement, $26,796. Workers' compensation, $14,731. Electricity, $49.94. Heating oil, $37.94. Telephone, $787. Internet, $2,940. Water, $264. Equipment supply, $40,000. That is up $5,000. One of the big driving factors behind that, aside from the generic, general cost of things going up, but the cutting edges went up significantly. Yeah. And then clothing, $3,000. Road maintenance, $60,000. So this road maintenance line is for those emergency repairs. He has to do a culvert or a washout or what have you, and that's where we turn for that. You will also see there's some money being set aside in the road capital too. We'll get to that in a minute. Salt, $120,000. That is an increase over last year. We do not have the salt price yet. What do we say we usually see that by?
Second week of May.
Yeah, so we're estimating based on last year with a little bit of an increase, $80 a ton, and we're estimating 1,500 tons for this year, which brings us to $20,000. Winter sand, we're estimating that we need 3,000 yards, and again, that's another bid that we usually wait till August to put out because we can't do that one too early. We're estimating about $16.25 a yard, which brings us to $48,750, which is a slight decrease from last year because we last year bought 3,500 yards of sand. And we're only planning on 3,000. Gasoline, $5,460 based on our bid pricing and gallons. Diesel, $26,990. That's a slight increase from last year, but also that's based on our average gallons of about 10,000 a year and our bid price of $2.66. Software, $228. Legal fees for grievances and other union-related items, $500. Physicals, drug testing, immunizations, $435. Equipment rental, $4,000, leaving that the same. We were asked that the other day, just as equipment rental can range from if he needs to a small dozer, a man lift, whatever, that kind of things that we don't already have, but for a specific job. Property casualty, $20,481. And as I said, that comes from the municipal tab and comes over here. And then we have training and conferences, $1,000. Equipment maintenance, $25,000. That is a $5,000 increase over last year. And then we have building maintenance remaining at $8,000. And then your vehicle maintenance, we've increased to $50,000, which is a $10,000 increase. And when you look at our fleet getting a little bit older and a lot of these maintenance items, and frankly, the DEF systems and all that kind of stuff, every time one of those breaks, it seems like it's at least 5 digits that we're paying out the door. So that gives us an entire public works budget of $1,031,066.
Looking at the sand pile, do you think 3,000 would be, then we go with 35?
So, it was the God, not us. I honestly though, I think we'll be all right.
You got a lot of salt left, it looks like, but maybe not. It looks like a lot of salt, maybe it's
Shit's
not.
full.
That's
That's all
good.
to say. It was tough this year to get salt. They claimed there was a big shortage. DOT and Turnpike Authority get priority. Us little guys get it when we can get it. Fortunately, the last couple of times I've ordered it, it's been right there, so. Hopefully, I won't need to order anymore, but hopefully.
Did we go over budget, or where were we compared to last year on repairs? You've got actually, first of all, on the first page, 61.4% increase on electric, like, what happened, like, I don't, that seems like a huge increase, and not that it was a lot of money, but is that correct, Adam?
It is correct, yeah, we went back and we reviewed the bills to make sure that we were correct. So some of that is the rate changes, with electricity have gone up, as well as, some of its usage. So that is correct, we double checked those numbers multiple times.
And so then, back to the original question, are we over budget, under budget on any of this, like that's, where do I see, how do we know what we spent last year?
So if you, in your book, a couple pages right behind the budget, we did include a year-to-date. So you can, now just keep in mind, like I said, we tried to combine some of these lines for efficiency and standardization, so sometimes you might look and be a little surprised for it. But, so vehicle maintenance, year-to-date, we're at $42,728. So we are $2,700 over budget right now.
On vehicle maintenance?
Vehicle maintenance.
And it was,
Equipment maintenance, we are at 19,000 and we have 20,000. So we're getting there pretty quick. But we are doing, now this was printed on February 26th when the books were printed, so it's not like 100% year to date, but close enough to this conversation. Building maintenance, we're doing well at, we spent $2,000 and we have
sand and salt, river salt.
Yeah, we've spent $82,000 thus far out of our $110,000 budget, and then winter sand, we've spent 53, but we had just about 52 rounding.
Mm-hmm. there a particular vehicle that's causing you, like, the increase in the vehicle maintenance? Is there like one specific that's?
What happened this year was, one of my plow trucks lost a main hydraulic pump. $3,700 just for a pump. 2018, deaf system went to hell on it. $12,000 just for parts. Just unexpected stuff that really blew this budget.
And I will say that, Jim provided his, copies of his vehicle maintenance logs, we stuck those in there, if I remember correctly, so last year we were asked about that stuff, so he brought that in so you guys could look at that stuff.
I still have yet to service the street sweeper, haven't done that yet, that's coming right up. Gonna need rooms.
Be towards the end of the. I think the, fleet's come a long ways in the last few years.
Jim, how was the maintenance on the 1 ton this past winter? Is that the one that,
After I put $6,000 into it for a sticker, it's pretty good. I can make that.
and that's the one we're replacing, right?
In fact, just an update on that. They called me today and said we should have it within 3 weeks. That was actually another unexpected vehicle expense.
Right.
I didn't plan on spending $6,000 for
Right.
inspection sticker. And I'm sure those maintenance records you don't see every time I change the windshield wiper or something like that, the major stuff.
Adam, why how do we get this ball field maintenance under one? Why, are you carrying it twice? Is it in rec and in the public works? How, is that what I'm understanding here?
Sorry, I'm not tracking with you, you're saying
The ball field maintenance.
ball field.
The mowing,
The mowing, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not double counting it, so Public Works takes care of the cemeteries and the town properties, Rec takes care of the ball field, pismo, puddle stuff. So we separated them out, because the ball field stuff is all rec-related expenses. If you guys want
But
that
last year they
changed,
took care of the ball field.
they mowed it,
We
but-
did all
Right.
Yeah.
That's it, that's all we did.
Right.
We didn't line the fields, we didn't do anything else.
but we paid it out of rec.
Paid that out, right?
Yes. Or rec paid Public Works Department, I really wanna get down to it, but yes.
Right.
Yep.
So this is basically for the town buildings and the cemeteries, this mowing.
Yes. And Jim and I talked about how many hours he feels with with 2 people, how long it would take to do it, so. That's where we came up with the 24 hours a week.
I assume that takes it to the new cemetery.
Well, we talked about another 4th Street Cemetery. You want to leave it already? 4th Street. They're all alright.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Ever since I did.
So what will happen if you put this out to bid and we accept the bid? What happens to this 26-4? Can we just pay it out of public works?
That's my plan, is that if the bids come in and that's what we're gonna pay, if the board decides to award the mowing bid, we're gonna pay it out of there. If the board decides the bids are too high, we're gonna hire part-time employees to do it. And it'll come from the same spot.
I have had a lot of inquiries about the mower bid.
Yeah, we've received a handful already, yeah.
As far as bids or?
inquiries, people asking to have a ride around or a walk through.
Yeah.
Oh, I probably had 8 different calls about it.
Can we? Yeah, again, I know I'm just pinching absolute pennies here. I don't know that the 25 weeks might be excessive for mowing. You know, your mowing bids may come in excess of that, and then you're gonna be tied to this number, I guess, but I feel like that's, you know, just from past experience, I'm thinking like 18, you know, you got June, July, August, September.
You gotta
October.
mow, all the cemeteries gotta be done in
April,
May,
April, May.
if you can, they gotta be taken care of in May.
If cemetery's not mowed by May, I'm gonna be on that line.
I mean,
I second that. So.
would be part of, like, the initial cleanup would be part of that, but yeah. Again, we're probably just pinching pennies here anyway, because I think if we brought it down to 18, we're not gonna be looking at much, but, 18 weeks, but, I just don't think honestly, in July and August, if it's 24 hours a week in May, it certainly isn't probably in August and July. You know, if you were going last year, if you went to the cemeteries more than once a month, I'd be surprised because it was, you know, dry as dry could be. But maybe this is an average, are you saying? Does this include cleanup time?
Yes.
Meaning,
You guys were gonna do the actual cleanup.
The initial cleanup.
but that's not in this number. This is
Correct.
basically just to mow
Mowing, yeah.
it. I think you could trim a little out there, again, probably peanuts, but.
You guys want
So these bids are due on both, right, next week.
18th.
I think we could probably settle on this, but maybe wait to vote and see where those bids are. Next week, we'll know what the bids are, and then if we're gonna honor any of those bids, or if we're gonna have to go this route, then we can flex that number. The bids are out, so they're gonna bid on what was put in front of them. It will be up to us to decide whether we're gonna accept the bids or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the bids, they're due on the 18th, your next meeting is on the 19th, and as regular business, I planned on putting the bids in front of you. So maybe what I'll do is I'll add Public Works as one of the budget items as a follow-up. And settle that.
Any other major discussion on the overall budget? Capital?
All right, I'll switch over to capital.
Oh, boy.
That's nice, Joe. All right, so I'm gonna first start with the Public Works capital, but remember, we've also got the town roads capital. I did them separately. All right, Jim's not asking for anything this year. He feels like he's in good shape. However, in the future, we've got a replacement plan for the 3/4 ton truck. And then the following year, we have a planned replacement for the 2014 Mack that we have. And that's about a $425,000 purchase. So what I'm proposing is we don't have any capital purchases this year, but I'm proposing that we raise and appropriate $70,000 this year, saving towards those future purchases. We have a reserve balance right now of about $240,000 in Public Works equipment vehicle line. And if we put $70,000, that would bring us to $310,000, and that allows us to make the purchase next year and puts us well on our way for that Mack replacement 2 years out. So $70,000 is the request.
Okay, here's where we run into a little bit of like, it's not gonna be, you've got 9,000 in here for Gravely zero turn.
Yeah.
Then you get 9,000 for the zero turn, and then, another 9,000 to replace these mowers, right? Which isn't, that, when you get your bids in, it's not gonna reflect that expense. So in other words, that, whatever that is, it looks like it's every, 2 years? We're replacing a mower. which is,
I've been here 8 years, so I've bought one. But the ones that we have been here for a while. Other than that, one new one.
I think one concern I'm gonna have is it's not showing up in that mowing, right? Like, this is all an expense that needs to be, it should be compared to the mowing when we're looking at, when we get bids in for it, it's not just labor. It's gasoline, it's the trimmer line for the trimmers, it's the mixed gas for the trimmers, it's the mowing machines, it's the time to maintain them and all that, right? So if we set aside in our regular budget, 22,000, whatever that number was, for mowing, what I'm concerned is it's not gonna be, you got 26,400. I'm concerned that number's not gonna accurately, so if your bids come in at 30,000, it's probably a net savings, it's just not on labor. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if we take into consideration replacing these mowers and all the small engine equipment, the truck that's towing it, the trailer, the tires on the trailer and all that jazz, I think that's gonna be, just take that into consideration when we get ready to make a decision on all this. I think some of these numbers need to be considered in those bids.
Well, I think, and Jim and I talked about this, if we get into the habit or the practice of bidding this out and doing it through a bid, we aren't gonna need to replace these mowers. I mean, we won't need them.
Right.
So, however, the ones that we have are fairly ancient, so that's why we included them. But we didn't want to include one this year because I don't wanna see where we go with this, with the bids. We tried bidding out a few years ago, and it was astronomical what we got for prices, so.
And what I'm saying is when these bids come in, take into consideration, it's not just labor.
That's why we got you, you're the expert, you gotta explain it to us.
The 70,000, I mean, listen, I'm on board, right? Like, I'm all for saving some money, for future purchases, so we're not borrowing, but I also think, we probably can't get it all in the first 1 or 2 years, and so, I'd like to reduce that number. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to take it down to like 35 or 40.
I have a question on the 70, is that 70 pretty much looking at being dedicated towards that MAC 2 years out? By the math, it looks like that's the case.
Yeah, so I mean, the $70,000 would bring us up to, 310. We purchased that, we purchased the 80,000, we're estimating $80,000 for the 3/4 ton with a plow and, the things that it will need. And then, yes, so I mean, we're saving towards that Mac. But it's not gonna necessarily be a Mac, but we're replacing that wheeler.
And that's your best guess, maybe you get another year out of it, maybe you don't, kind of thing.
What, is there something going out of service? Is there like a 3/4 ton going out of service if you're replacing it?
Yeah, it will be, yeah. So this was 2017 Ram Dodge.
And we'll put that out to bid, I assume.
Sometimes if the vehicle's still got some life left in it, and we can use it for, I mean, frankly, if that truck's still got some life left in it, I wouldn't mind maybe seeing it land over a wreck just to be able to have a utility vehicle, but we can talk about that when the time comes.
That wheeler we're planning for in a couple of years, is that, the whole thing as far as the headgear, plow, everything, that is all brand new?
Ready to go.
So is the current plow and stuff that we have, is that all original back when we bought that truck as well? That's, okay.
And I'd ask them whether you don't recommend reusing that.
I would adamantly fight if we want to do that.
Really doesn't make any sense.
No, it's
Not
not
at that age.
I mean, it's hard to argue, you get 15 years out of a truck like that.
That's what they don't do. I mean, a lot of people don't realize what this time of year takes on those trucks.
Any other discussion on CIP? Phil made a recommendation, I don't know if he wants to make a motion or.
Yeah.
What we want to do.
I make a motion, we reduce the, the capital improvement budget to, 40,000.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second so we can get the discussion.
If you don't second, we don't discuss, so, discussion.
Well, no, I wanna know where you're coming from, dropping it 30 grand. Is it just simply a cost savings, or where you coming up with that?
Yeah, I think, I'm looking at 15,000 in 2 mowers, right? Like, I think I'm hopeful that when we get bids back and we take all this in consideration, that you're not gonna need the 15,000 for your mowers. So, you can see a little savings there, and then, yeah, I think we gotta do some more work on how we're gonna purchase some of this equipment, where, as far as big purchases and, and then just general savings. I mean, you're just kicking the can, I get it, right? That means we're going to push that truck maybe another year.
Or you're gonna come up with more money sooner.
Right.
I think if we can push the truck a year, we do, and try to not take as much, each year, but
I've seen that
we
truck.
won't know until we get 2 years from
I'm
now.
gonna tell you now, I've seen that truck. And it's had salt run through the veins most all of its life. Now would be make the move.
You're saying now, it's 2 years from now.
No, I get it, but what I'm saying, having the money to do it makes sense to me. And it is a lot of money, but our idea about what we've done in the past is we haven't had that money there. And the idea of, planning ahead and having the money, I think is that. It is an awful lot of money, I agree with you. But we agreed that we're gonna start doing some of this rather than getting down to the game and seeing how we're gonna play for it. I think he needs to start with it.
So, and the reason I ask is because the 9,000 and the 6,000 for the mower and the trailer is for years coming up, 2 and 3 years down the road, not for this particular budget. So my thought is again, that's what we've talked about, is saving, so we don't have to continue to borrow, is that if we stayed with a 70 now, if we find out the bid process works as far as mowing, and next year we revisit, next year we take the $9,000 out, the year after we take the $6,000 out, and we just tackle that year by year, would be my theory. I would prefer to leave it at 70 so that we can continue to work towards savings, so we don't have to borrow or minimize the borrowing we do have to do. That's what I prefer.
Did you, what's the total increase for the budget from last year to this year, for the whole budget?
Counting capital.
Everything.
So this is notwithstanding some of the things that have happened today, so. You're looking at operationally a $539,000 increase. And then capital doing a $500,000 total capital request, you're looking at a $280,000 increase. That's $819,000.
Just less than I thought.
More than last year, which is about 1 mil on the tax rate.
So, but that being said, the 819, 500 of that is for future planning.
Some purchases,
Correct.
yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So that's something that has to be kept in mind, long-term going down the road. Look, they may not agree to it, but
I'm with you on just looking at the plan, and it's the long-term plan, 70,000 this year, 125 next year. I'd rather keep 70 this year, and if we're gonna make a reduction of 20 or 30, we make it next year. And try to even that out, so it's not a big up and down year to year kind of thing. That's my take.
And I did try and ease us into this, if you will, but at the same time, that's why we're all here talking about it. See what's best.
But you did also take into consideration the debt service that'll be coming off the books, so our
Yep.
debt service will continue to go down as we don't borrow. Some of the debt service was highway, that'll be coming off. That's therefore we figured in the increase.
And if we slide over the town roads, I'll hit on that a little bit more too.
We gotta vote on that motion.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yes, we had a motion and a second to reduce to $40,000. All those in favor of reducing? All those opposed? The motion is denied. Rejected. Whatever you want to call it. It's been a long day. Did not pass.
I make a motion that we give them the salary.
Second. Motion and a second on $70,000. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Pass. Roads. Scott.
All right, I didn't mean to rush this, sorry.
Oh my God, what did you do?
All right, town roads. So there's a couple things on here that you're gonna see. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Oh, it was back in public work on the CIP.
Adam, what
On the CIP.
Yeah, look at your CIP
I
and
thought
public.
the other one was published right after.
There should be
We're
two pages, they
We have
may
to
be
see-
folded
I
together,
see
they
that we
may
just
not be
voted on
folded
this.
together.
So one more, one more in there.
Thank you.
It was a puzzle. All right, so what we've got here is you do see under 26-27 a price for all those roads. Those are all roads included in our $3 million road bond. So those things are ongoing, but I thought it was relevant just to kind of give us, something to reference. The balance in that reserve right now, outside of the $3 million road bond, is $143,886. I'm recommending that we put $50,000 into the account every year for the next few years, and that's for saving for future road projects and or major emergency repairs that come up beyond what we can handle in the operating budget. So that adding 50,000 will bring us up to 193,000. And then you can see down at the bottom of this, I put the road bond payments on there. It's 618,000 every year. But when we get to fiscal year 2031, 31, 32, which is a few years out, we go from $50,000 for road savings to $500,000 road savings. It may seem like a lot, but we've been paying, at that point, we've been paying 618 towards a road bond. So we just shift that over to savings. And you can very quickly see how all of a sudden now we go up to 800,000, 1.3 million, 1.8 million, in that road account, which will allow us to then turn around and do, pave 1 or 2 roads at a time, and self-pay. You see the word planned in there for 2031. We can't come up, we're not gonna be able to give you real numbers for roads in 2031. But those are the roads that Jim and I have discussed that we feel will be next up. I will say that right now, with everything that we're attacking with this road bond and all the work that we've done over the last few years, I think all of us have put a lot of effort into getting the roads in a good place. So, I think you'd agree with that as well. So the ask this year is $50,000 for future road savings. And I will make that bigger next time.
Looks like a good plan to me. Just have Mother Nature cooperate with the roads.
Because the bond is gonna take care of a couple of the scary ones that we've got. The road with the wall in the middle of it, that box culvert we've gotta do over near the quarry, and those are some of the big messes. But that's settled business at work.
Make a motion to go with 50,000.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
So Right now, the reserve balance is 143,886.
Yes.
Okay. So, I guess where I'm going with this is, again, we all go back to taxpayers, okay? We just went from one road bond to a new road bond and added, was it like $100-something thousand a year extra just going from one bond to another? Okay. We're getting a ton of road work done, right? I'm very happy with that list of what's gonna be done with this. And again, in the whole scheme of things, 50 grand probably isn't a ton of money when we're talking the overall budget, but at some point, I could certainly vouch right now for not putting $50,000 in reserve on top of 143 that we're at right now for this year, just due to the extra payments we're making right now in the bond, in the new bond.
That 143 is gonna be spent by June.
On
Roads.
what roads?
It's been that much on Swamp Road.
Yep, you're probably right.
So,
So,
So this money is like maintenance and upkeep, is that what this is, or like a
It's
washout?
It's saving for the future, but it's also for extensive emergency repairs. So we tend to, that 60,000 in the public works budget, we tend to turn to that for simple things like culverts, gravel, generic stuff. But if we all of a sudden have a big washout, this is that's our backup plan, is this account, so.
all right,
So
so,
what you're saying, there's not money left in the regular budget for Swamp Road or other
No,
road repairs, this is in its own.
In other words, when you drew this up, there was 143 in there, but you have some plans for that, or very well could have some plans.
Absolutely.
We're going to use what's in the operating budget first.
Absolutely, yeah.
right. That's fair enough. It was just my initial thought. But obviously, if something happens to the road, it washes out, it's nobody's fault, we gotta fix it.
Just need to get it there. I don't know how many of you have been up to Swamp Road. I wouldn't recommend it right now, but that's getting built up amidst the houses.
It is.
It's only a matter of time before they start.
And to be fair, right, I did bring it up to actually both of you. I received a message from a resident about Swamp Road yesterday. I've already talked to you both about it, just, complaining about the road and so forth.
Yeah, it's been brought up.
I'm sure every year it probably does,
It
right?
has been brought up.
So fair enough. I'm fine with that explanation. It was just my.
It's like I told you, yesterday I hauled 10 loads of gravel. Today you were dumping all of it.
This right here is the total.
We think, what are we projecting not doing any more major road work for what, 5 years? 3 years, 5 years?
That's the hope.
Do we think, yeah,
All those roads that are in this year aren't getting done this year.
It's a 2-year
Yeah,
project.
some of those roads on this year's list aren't gonna get done till next year, depending on how many they can get done this year, the rest go to next year.
Yeah, no, we planned that for a 2-year project.
It just looks on the sheet.
Oh, like it's all gonna be
Sheet,
done.
that's it. We have a motion and a second to pass the $50,000 for the road. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Vote. And were we waiting on the public works budget itself? It is, right?
So I will plan to bring the public works budget itself back on your next Thursday's meeting. I'll make it the first budget we discuss after the potentially awarded bids. That's what I have for you guys tonight. Would you like him to come back for next week to speak to that?
Every week.
All depends the way the pay.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
We're only talking the bids, right? I mean, we've discussed the other, what does he need to go?
I'm okay. If you don't have any other questions on it, then, it's just the moment.
I like this kind of just to go.
No, geez.
Did we want to work on the general government budget at all, or?
It's up to you
I
folks.
think we're in a good
The
spot.
what one?
The general, basically, this, it's a, on there if we get to it, kind of thing.
We're already here. But if you don't want to, we don't have.
Don't forget, we do have an executive session tonight for union negotiations.
Oh, forgot about that. That's the stuff, I think.
Not that I wouldn't mind being in something like that.
Oh, I can arrange that. Will make you happy.
No, I'm happy to do it.
Whatever you're ready.
This is the.
Just send it around, we can sign it.
Are you gonna make a motion, go into executive session?
We can talk, we can do some of this
I was looking for where this is on the calendar, and it's just kind of, where everyone can get to it, so.
Yeah. Do you wanna work through some of this, and if it doesn't end up being quick, then we'll, no?
No hard feelings, I just don't want.
No hard feelings?
As we get, if we don't,
You got all the snacks down there.
if we don't get to the end, we get to the end.
Right, get them down.
We're in for like meeting at the end, that's all. So we had.
I wasn't late because I ate.
You,
I'll be one to act on that, yes, and so we'll do that.
I already did.
Good job. So,
Executive session.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for labor contract discussion, assuming MRSA Title 1, Chapter 13, Section 4, 5, 6, B.
All those in favor? Thank you, folks.
We have to take our personal session.
Is that you, Lois?
Yeah.
What?
This weekend?
Am I quick?